get all the information. And I said this summer I would like to take 2 weeks and have 40 hours each day to catch up on all the information that Wally sent through the last year, and all obviously the other coaching things that are going on nowadays. I remember I started coaching in the 80s up outside of Flin Flon, Manitoba. And Roger Nielsen was really the only hockey conference that you could attend, and I couldn't quite get to that year. I couldn't get to it, so I remember I wrote Roger Nielsen, said I was a first year coach just outside at native residential school, or kind of I called it the Notre Dame of the North. But so generous he was. I got 2 months later, I got this beautiful package. I'm a New York Ranger fan, and I got all this information. He was coaching the Rangers at that time, and I always remembered how he went the extra mile. And now young coaches coming out, there's so much resources. It's actually too much probably. It's you can pop on power play, the flank, and there's 30,000 pages on the power play on the internet nowadays. But you guys, it's great. Your discussions and the guests you have is tremendous. Just like to make mention, Al Andrews was a mentor of mine growing up in PEI, and Wally filled me in. So if Al happens to watch this at some point, you recover quickly. And it was great to see him inducted into the PEI Hall of Fame just recently as well there. So he's obviously, like you guys, a legend in the hockey world. First of all, just a story. And just before the story begins, um, my situation, I was replacing a coach, and St. John decided to make a change. And Gord Dwyer did an excellent job with that group in the regular season. They had a fantastic regular season, and Gordy has had a great background in coaching. In the Quebec Major Junior Hockey League, he was over in the KHL and different things like this. And sometimes there's situations I've never met him, but he certainly laid a great foundation, and it's great to see him getting a job now in Bathurst and back into the Quebec Major Junior League. So situations arise. I remember hearing Steve Spott when Pete DeBoer and him had to go into Las Vegas middle of the year, and how they made that the first week and things like that. And sometimes it's the unfortunate of the hockey world, and that these things happen. But nonetheless, like many great things are in your lives, you look back, a phone call that can change your life, whether you're Tim, I'm sure you got a call from the National Hockey League at one time. Okay, we're going to have you as our coach. Those phone calls change your life. And I had the phone call from Trevor Georgie on a Saturday morning, and had said that they made some changes in St. John. They're going to keep the assistants, had some resource people, including Rocky Thompson, was going to be working with the St. John team. And they had asked me if I would be interested in being the head coach. And at that time, I mean, it's a lot of things coming at you. It's a great honor. And I said, okay, can I take some time here, talk to my wife, obviously, and some people in the hockey world, and get back to you tomorrow? And his reply was, we'd rather you come or let us know tonight. So sometimes things happen quickly, but I did talk to some people, including my son, who's works as an NHL player agent now, but is quite prominent in knowing the general managers in the Quebec League, and knew Trevor and that type of thing. So, and I remember him saying, Dad, you've had many opportunities throughout your years at UNB. This one's 1 hour away. It's 1 month, and it's the Memorial Cup. And I had asked Trevor if he had any type of a video on the Memorial Cup, if he could send it to me. And he had sent a video late on the Saturday evening. I kind of had watched it, and it grabbed my heart. And so the next morning, I had to let him know that's yes, take the opportunity. And I just asked when the players would be back, and he said they're coming back that night. And so I think anytime you take over as a new coach, you have one chance to make a first impression. And so my day was, to put a PowerPoint presentation that would try to, capture their hearts and minds right off the bat, and to try to make a, positive impression. So that was my first kind of, let's say, 6-8 hours on the job in St. John. And the group had met at Delta Hotel in St. John, and Trevor spoke to them, and the two assistant coaches were there, and then they introduced. I come in from the back and introduced me. And, I had a PowerPoint presentation, more, I guess, philosophy that we've had here at UNB. I guess my philosophy is, how we want to play as a team, and how we want to conduct ourselves, and basically how the culture or hope to establish here in the month, that type of thing. As I said, there's a lot of good things in the foundation, and it may be like the country and western song. We just had to get the dust off the bottle a little bit, that type of thing. So that was day one. And, it went really positive to meet the players. I had some information I want them to fill out that night and stuff. So, and then we did bring them back to the dressing room. And again, I had, some team building exercise I wanted to do with them that night, and just kind of, I had to, I guess as a staff, we had to work fast. I didn't know either the assistants, Stefan Legend and Travis Crickert, and Brian Fleming was the goaltending coach. And, we had different resource people. We had Mike Eagles at the face-offs. Paul Boudelier was on the defense for us. And Trevor, I kind of knew, but really not that much. So it was try to work fast and establish relationships. First of all, I think was the most important thing anytime you're coming in, and with the players, most importantly, but even with my staff. And I remember Travis was his wife that night went into labor, and so he missed the first couple of days of practice. And there was Stefan and I, and Brian was a goaltender coach. At UNB, we have 4 assistants on the ice. 5 of us are always on the ice. And I remember there was a lad that coached the Maritime Junior League in St. John. I said, if he's around, would he be interested in coming out to practice? And I kind of joke, I said, 24 hours ATO for each and every practice, and he attended all 20 with us, so he did a great job as well for us. So that was the initial, let's say, 24 hours on the job. Our first practice was the next day. And again, you have your first opportunity to make a positive difference, and try to, I think anytime you have a new group on the ice is, you want to, the structure that you want, even how a practice is run. I remember hearing Pat Burns talking about the World Juniors and how he had to make an impact, and he had the 3-second rule. I blow the whistle, you're here in 3 seconds. And I've tried to use that as a coach. And I was lucky to go down with Andy O'Brien to the Vail, Colorado, with Crosby and Johnny Tavares, all those people. And the respect, I was the college coach running the sessions there for the week. And I remember blew the whistle, and they're in 3 seconds. So I always say, if the millionaires can be in 3 seconds, us blue collar guys can get in 3 seconds, whatever. So that was really the first 24 hours on the job with St. John. I think Tim had mentioned, kind of like, what are some of the keys, that you wanted to establish, I guess, early. And I think biggest thing was, I think anytime is trying to get trust in a group. And I guess it's two-way trust. I've got to start to get the trust of the players. Players got to get trust in, our staff as a whole. And obviously I'm the new head coach, so I think a lot of things we had to work on that part, even standards at practice. I think I try to, be an efficient coach at practice. So to me, a practice is like, like a theater performance. So I've been at this 30 some years, and I still spend, we probably spend at least an hour on each practice. Okay, how's this drill? Go to this drill. What do we need to this drill? That type of thing, like that. So we want to make sure, and it's interesting in St. John, there's a kind of a big room. There's a great big table, kind of the assistant coaches video room. And, we get to just talk hockey, before practice. If we practice at 1 o'clock, we arrive, very early in the morning, and we just go over our practice and spend a lot of time on it. And we had, numerous different guest coaches came in, and Mike, would come in once or twice a week. Paul, come in at different segments and that type of thing. So, and I brought Rob Henniker, who's my associate coach at UNB. And as I told the 2 assistant coaches, I said, this is the smartest guy I know in hockey. I think he's a tremendous player. He was the best player in the country in Canadian university hockey, signed an NHL contract with the Islanders. And, he's our MVP for 4 years while he played at UNB and had a great pro career. But I said, great a player as he is, he's even a better coach. He just gets it, and he just sees the game in a tremendous way. So I brought him down with me as well. So that's kind of the opening, let's say 24 to 40 hours. We're lucky. Rocky Thompson, we use this, a lot of the schedules they used in Windsor when they were eliminated early. I think they had 2 physiologists put that together tactically for the physical preparation. Obviously, the on ice, what you want to do the on ice. So our model was a little bit different. We didn't have, I think they had longer time. We had 39 days between games, and St. John had sent the players home for 1 week, which I think was a great idea, just to get away and kind of recover physically, but also even mentally. So for the players, I think the adversity became valuable for us at the time. You lose out. You had a great regular season, and especially a great finish. So they were on fire, and then they ran into a bit of a roadblock and a 5-game series with Rimouski, and went into overtime at the end, and 1-goal difference. So. But yeah, they came back. They're energized. They're very receptive. I have to give them full credit. Not once during my total time there was there ever a shrug, why are we doing this, or what. They just really bought in well. And the group. We had to push this group harder than I've ever pushed a team. And we work hard at UNB. That's a motto of our success at UNB is our practices, our work ethic, our fitness ability. And we only had the 39 days, or probably 32 days, I guess it was, to get ready for our first game at the Memorial Cup. So I think that was we had great support from the coaches, players bought in, and then we had a great plan from Rocky, and we really stayed with that, set up our week. I think our first week was 5 practices in a row, or 4 practices. We had a morning practice, and then we had a scrimmage that evening. So we had 5 different scrimmages set up during the time, and where we brought other players in. And we had a surplus. I think we had 16 forwards and we had 9 defensemen. So we tried to get 5 defensemen in each team and 9 forwards on each team. So, but we had, sometimes in June it's tougher to find, really good players. But we were lucky. A guy like Phil Myers came to all 5 sessions, and he had to drive up from Moncton, a 2-hour drive. And he attended all 5 sessions. Jordan Murray's a former defenseman I had, played in Belleville, is playing over in the KHL. And so he came to 4 of the 5. We had another guy, Dominic LeBlanc, who's a good, solid kind of East Coast American League player. And then we brought 5 or 6 of our guys down at different times from UNB. They were during their exam period then, but they, whenever they could. A guy like Austin Keating, who was, a back-to-back 89-point guy at a major junior. Ty Bolin just finished. He was top 3 in scoring in the East Coast for Newfoundland. Got eliminated in Game 6 in finals. Came back to Fredericton, and 2 days later we had him come down. So we had really good buy-in from a lot of these players, and they were really good opponents for us in these scrimmages, and they were important for us to have, because that was really our only team-wise. And as important as they were for the players, they were probably more important for me, because I had never been behind the bench for this team before. So, and I probably knew 2 of the players. There's 2 lads from Fredericton on the team, Lawrence and Reynolds. So the rest of the players were all new to me as a coach. So it was, even putting our lines together and things like that, it was important for me to see them in game action. You can run a practice, but you guys know it's tough to judge players by running a practice, because you're running a practice. So it's a lot easier when you're behind a bench in a scrimmage. You get to see a lot more of the players and things like that. I can take a pause now if there's any questions to this point, from you guys.
I just wonder if we can get, there's 2 new people or 3 that have come on. Claude Vilgrain, Jordan Fenton, and then Kerry Bracco. I think you'd appreciate knowing who they are. And Claude, go ahead. I'm not sure if his speaker's on. Claude?
Hello. How you guys doing? I'm Claude Vilgrain. I'm in Calgary. This year I'm going to coach that International Hockey Academy. I know New Brunswick well. I played at University of Moncton, so I had a few battles with UNB before you showed up and saved the day. So yeah, so this is
Yeah.
me.
Pleasure, Claude. I loved to watch you when you were with Team Canada there all those years, and professional. Good for you.
Oh, thanks, appreciate it.
Okay, Jordan. Your speaker, Jordan, if you're on.
Yeah, good morning. I'm Jordan Fenton. I'm coaching U18 AA female here in Calgary, and I have actually a player that's out at UMB on the female side in Emma Barbandi that I coached back in U15. So
Excellent. Yeah, pleasure, Jordan. That's outstanding.
Gary,
Wally's got coast to coast here, people involved.
Gary Bracco's got quite a resume. He's worked in Major Junior, and I coach him as a kid. So, Kerry?
Hey, how's it going? Congratulations. That's quite a feat that you pulled off. It's going to be interesting to listen to all the stuff that's going on, but I'm pretty much just a hockey parent right now and just enjoying the ins and outs of hockey and hopefully trying to find a way to improve what's going on out there.
Yeah, it's a pleasure. Yeah, I've heard lots about you and read lots about you. So that's outstanding. Yeah, no, super.
Okay, Timmy, take it away. The speaker.
There.
Oh, there we go. Yeah, seniors got to stay on top of that stuff. Just lots of questions come to mind, Gardner. But sort of when I heard you, I think I heard you interviewed once after it was all done, and the biggest thing, or as you alluded to earlier, one of the most important things right off the top was building trust. So, like, can you give us a little bit of insight and sort of from your perspective, what you think the sort of the path was there, and what the most important things that you and your staff actually did to sort of help build that trust?
Yeah, I think it's one of the first was getting to know the players. So the fact like bring guys in and talk to them. I have a sheet that I hand out to all my teams and just info. I think you get more from players when they write it down than a one-on-one conversation, especially early in the relationship. And I tried to, and I that's where the two assistant coaches were outstanding. They had been with, like Stefan had been with the group all year. Travis interested. He was brought in November, and he'd been out in Kelowna before, and he had been to this Memorial Cup, to the finals in Kelowna, and actually had taken a job with Hockey Canada out of Waterloo. So those people had a lot of, I always say, like, smart people learn from their mistakes, wise people learn from smart people. So I tried to be the wiser person here, and so there's a lot of good information from those guys, and then a chance to just talk to guys, whether it was at the rink or before practice or after practice, just establishing a bit of a relationship. And but those info sheets give you a background that you can go through 26 info sheets, and you get a little bit of background, what their hobbies were, what they liked, that as people, what's their best memories so far, all that type of thing, because a lot of these players had tremendous seasons in the regular season, so it was a matter of getting a relationship. And then I think some of the like the meetings we had, I call them PWAs, and we had a lot of them, like a positive winning attitude. And we'd have one every day at some point. Some days we may have two. They're short, but I think just kind of like putting out the parameters, in the initial, okay, this is how we want to practice. Here's the things that we want to do when we practice, because I think practice has to be our difference maker. We don't have a game 7 against the top opponent in the OHL, so we have to be our own competition, that type of thing. So and then with that, obviously they had systems in place. I'm probably more of a principles coach than a systems coach, so it's important to establish the principles we wanted. But again, I go back, there's some things that probably had to be changed a little bit, and it wouldn't matter, a coach takes over from me, they're going to change some things I do. I think every coach has to be authentic on what you believe in as a coach. And I guess I'm fortunate to been at a lot of these tournaments and to go through a similar circumstance. I remember in 2004, we had lost out in the semifinals. So I think at that time we had like probably 25 or 26 days to get ready. And we knew we'd play University of Alberta, who had like an undefeated team that year. I think they were 48-0 coming into Fredericton. They were in the same pool as us. So we knew that we'd have to play a dynamite team right away. So going through that experience, even though it was quite a few years ago, helped me in this preparation. And I think I've been involved with university, like all-star teams at the university. I've been over to the World University Games on 2 occasions. We had a training camp there, and even, we're out to Victoria 5 years ago and Oakville 4 years ago against the World Juniors, smaller training camps, but same things that you want to do. You got to work fast, but you also want to work efficiency. And I think the biggest thing we wanted to do is just kind of try to simplify things. And, this is the principles we believed in. We tried to use those principles. I think the forecheck is 3 zones, and there's the offensive zone that most people talk about, but I think there's a neutral zone forecheck, there's a D zone forecheck. And so it's just putting something that's simple for those guys in all 3 zones is somewhat similar to principles of what you want it to play and how you want it to play, that type of thing. And, you add some of the drills they use, you add some of our drills from UNB, and each day you probably add a new drill and things like that. And again, Rob, I think Henniker does such an outstanding job. So bringing him in on, start kind of 1 time a week, then, get a couple of weeks in and it's 2 times a week. And then at the end, he was there almost all the time with us. So it's, I think the practice obviously helped a lot, that type of thing. I have to give full credit. Terry Blizzard was our fitness coach, and he did an outstanding job. So let's say a regular day in St. John, say week number 1 would be group number 1 workout at 9:00 till say 10:15. Group number 2 would come in at that time. So I can grab players before they work out, or I can grab players after they work out and just come on in and just, we could, build in if we're going to have let's say a few new concepts. I have a good friend, Andrew Brewer, is a former video coach at UNB, and he's in the National Hockey League now. So, we made a few changes. Like so, Willie DeFore was a right winger most of the year. I thought he could be a really good centerman for us. So, obviously it's a little bit of change in position. So it's, maybe grabbing 5 or 6 clips from Andrew Brewer of Austin Matthews in Toronto, who I think maybe, as far as a top level player, may be the best away from the puck in the D zone in the NHL. And he's terrific, hard on the stick, strips pucks, things like that. So, you can bring 5 or 6 clips on him and bring your centerman in and just here's 5 or 6 clips. So we got to do lots of those little things. We could take any component of the game. We could get some video or talk out about it. And so we got lots of chance to teach. Terry did a great job in the fitness. And then we'd have a team lunch every day at Rockies. It wasn't far from our arena through the podcast. They'd kind of have an hour for that. They'd all eat together, which one of the themes we had of early on in the process was just us. And I put it in English and French. We had 14 French Canadians on our team. So I think it was important, even though I don't speak French, it was important to make them feel comfortable as well. So, we had T-shirts made up just us, because it was really just us, we're getting a chance to play, and we're guaranteed 3 games at Memorial Cup, but everything was built for game number 1, so they'd have a lunch, and then we'd practice probably around 1:30 every day in segment number 1. Each of the segments we changed up somewhat, how long we practiced or how many days and when the breaks. And obviously it was geared towards a lot of volume early, the first 2 weeks, especially, would have been the toughest 2 weeks those players would have went through. Like Terry did an outstanding job. He really pushed. There's a nice hill right across the street from our arena, and they got to know that hill pretty good with sprints and things like that. So I got to hand him full credit. And, our practices, we had to, add a fitness component to our practice, add a competitive component to our practices, along with, your skill development and your tactical development, so it's, we're kind of going day to day. That's you're just looking at day and trying to get the best. But when you looked at the whole thing in retrospect, it all came together. And again, the plan that Rocky came up with, was outstanding. How it was done, and we just kind of filled in what we wanted to do during that time. And then I always used to have at UMB, we have start of the year, we do our fitness testing, and we have a University Cup challenge. So we fitness tested all the guys first 2 or 3 days back just to see where they were at. And then we ended up coming with a Memorial Cup challenge, we called it. We broke into 4 teams, and we did on ice competition, off ice competition, lots of trivia competition. And that was, I think, and getting feedback from the players at the end, that was a really key part as well, just because we had to bring the team really close together. It was just us, so they've been a team, but there was a lot of new players came in at Christmas, and again, Trevor did an outstanding job of putting a lot of talent in place. But because the schedule was so busy in the Quebec League and all 3 leagues, to make up the games and to get the full 60 game plus schedule in, there wasn't as much time probably to build. It was a game. You didn't have as much time to practice. So it was probably a blessing in disguise. I think adversity can be a stepping stone to success. And in our case, it proved to be that, so we had this, 1 month of time to really do a good job in practicing, getting better physical condition, get closer as a group team wise, and then add to our principles, which become systems. How we want to play as a team, so it was really like kind of a hockey utopia laboratory. We had great resource people, even, some people I had known in pro hockey, they were around, asked, can they come watch practice for a couple of days? And I would say, like, Benny Guite down and, had been, former NHL guy at the University of Maine as a coach and was coaching the East Coast, people like that came up, and, we brought them on the ice with us, so it was a really, you guys would just love the opportunity, because it was like, before practice time, if we had 2 or 3 hours, it was just people throwing ideas out and drills out. Okay, what about this drill and this drill? And, it all worked, but it was like really lots of collaboration with our group. Brian, Fleming was really good on the computer and, put stuff together for us and things like that. So it was a really neat opportunity for everyone to work together and with a common goal. If really our goal was just to get better every day, like we just kept it to a day basis, and every day, Travis was really good on the technical part and, the components. I think he had maybe 25 or 30 things that we had to, whether it was, like they asked me at the press conference on one game, about pulling your goalie. Have you done that? I said, all our scrimmages, our first period was all special. Well, not all, but a good part. It was 6-on-4, 4-on-6, 6-on-5, 4-on-4, 3-on-3. Every segment that we knew that could happen, we were. Sorry about that. That wasn't the Winnipeg Jets, but we went through all that. So we had all this time, but I know, a lot of times you think you have this 4 weeks to get ready, and then all of a sudden you got 1 week left, and what have you done? So I think, Travis and Stefan had a really good job of, each week we've done that. And, I put them, Travis was on the power play, Stefan was in the penalty kill. So we got to spend a lot of time on our power play and our penalty kill as well, with our scrimmages and even in practice. And, we'd bring the power play out before practice and work 15 minutes, 2 or 3 times a week, things like that, and Brian would bring the goalies out. Mike would bring the centerman out. And, they had, I think they called them the face-off fraternity, so there'd be 7 or 8 guys that could take face-offs, because I think that's, those are key elements that you controlled, so we got, had a lot of time to do all this type of thing, which was really important down the road. And at the time, you don't know, okay, whether this would be important or not, but when just the way the tournament played out, you look back and say, okay, it was great that we practiced that, or we did this, or that type of thing, and it was like we had to wear down our players. You had to have the physical component, like we didn't have the games, so we had to. But then as this plan proceeded, as we got closer to the game number 1 of the Memorial Cup, you wanted to be fresh and ready to go. So it's that fine combination of we want to work them hard enough that we're getting in and really, I said our goal is that you have to be in the best shape of your career for game number 1. That's our goal. But we don't want them to be overworked and where they're tired going in, like the other teams, obviously when you come to Memorial Cup and you win the Western Hockey League or the Ontario Hockey League or the Quebec, you're beaten up. Like you've got a lot of great mileage. You've played really good opponents. So you've got all your things in place, how your team's going to play best there. But obviously there's a buildup of physical fatigue and then, teams flying in and things like that. So we had to use the freshness as an advantage. We're not getting on an airplane. We're just taking, we're walking from the billets to the hotel. That's the only change we had. So you try to take advantage of some of those controllable situations.
Nice. And not to, oh, sorry, Wally, go ahead. I was just going to ask about maybe what the 2 or 3 maybe key tactical components, but you could go ahead, Wally.
Well, I'm more getting into the actual. I wanted to talk about lightning bolts. We have a preparation scheme in Alberta with the Program of Excellence where coaches try to anticipate lightning bolts. In other words, things that just totally unexpected in that time frame you have to deal with. I would really like to hear the tactical elements first, and then get on with the actual things that went on that were challenges and how you cope with them, the real things you faced. So go ahead, Tim, with your question. I think we're so impressed with the degree of planning, preparation, and detail. And I'd really like to continue with that train of thought than Kim's tactical questions. Go ahead.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing technically, first of all, I think it went back to habits. And every coach is going to have let's say the top 5 habits you want or top 3 habits on the ice, and I think part of that was one of mine is like that the players got to love the game. I think that's the most important thing we can do as coaches at any level, whether it's a 6-year-old kids or it's a National Hockey League. Because there's a lots of diversity. It's not easy at any level, and you're going to have the adversity along the way at every level. So I think that was a big thing. I think that Memorial Cup Challenge really helped us, brought our team together. We had a lot of fun off ice. Remember, we spent one Friday night at the Boys and Girls Club. We did. There's always a fine line with COVID. Like we want to do some public things for the community, but we want to make sure our players stayed healthy as well. So it's that fine line. But I know we did some, autographs before and things for all the boys. They were having a big supper at the Boys and Girls Club, outdoor picnic, I guess it was. But, we had 3 hours there where we got to combine some strategy. I like to motivate or maybe more inspire, maybe a better word, but just different things I like to do as a coach. So, and then we had some events there at the gymnasium that they had there. And the event was really competitive, which it usually is, so we could do things off ice. They're really competitive. We could do things on ice. Every practice we would finish with some type of competitive game, maybe 2, and then we'd have, competition Friday where we just had competitive games all that practice, and you find as a coach, I'm sure coaches try those, is that sometimes that practice will be the hardest practice of the week quite often, so going back to the tactical is getting habits like stopping on pucks, really battling, the forecheck, and even we came up with the 2-on-1 St. John philosophy. I think the game is if you can create more 2-on-1s with or without the puck, you have advantage, but it's a hard system to play. You got to be fit and you got to be ready to skate, so a lot of our drills were on this, this tactic or concept of 2-on-1 everything, so if a player's entering our zone, obviously the D-man's going to play him 1-on-1, but we want to have a back checker, to make it a 2-on-1. So I said all these teams we're going to face, obviously, are going to have an unbelievable skill level. They're going to be champions, and we're going to have to use, maybe one-on-one's not good enough. So there was that concept of 2-on-1 and everything we did. And then offensively, you bring in concepts of 2-on-1, crosses and things like that with the puck and buying time and space and things like that. But technically, I think is we want to be really simple. And, we've at UNB, we've used them a lot, be great at simple. And so we wanted to simplify how we want to play. And, I think on face-offs, we spend a lot of time on face-offs and different face-off drills, even 5-on-5 face-offs is part of the practice and into, a 30-second scrimmage, 5-on-5 play. And then you bring in your components, your regroup is brought in, who wins the face-off, your forward check's brought in, who lost the face-off. And if you do that in all three zones, then you can bring a lot of what you're worked on into a game-like situation, and at UNB, we play fast, and that's what we want to do. I don't know if we've ever been known in St. John as like a speed or fast team, but our guys did play fast, and we want to build in the relentless of being relentless on the puck. And, if we didn't get the first time, we want to hang in there and get, battle in the second time. And hopefully we have someone and come help us in that battle, so we spend a lot of time on 10-foot races, 15-foot races, lots of drills, and then lots of battles, in different areas, open ice battles, but also in the corner battles. Blue lines are key part. So we had drills for, chipping it out, chipping it in, so we had lots of time to build in, and like all the coaches had some great drills. Rob brought some great drills in. So, and then, you find let's say your core 10 drills that you use a lot, and then you bring in different drills in that. So I think tactically it'd probably be more principles, Tim, than okay, what is your forecheck? Our forecheck was, it's pretty simple forecheck. And, as I told the guys, we have part A of the forecheck, part B, and we had a guy, Hunter Tromley, who's a tremendous player for us. We were at the Nationals up in Thunder Bay back in 2009, and the TSN reporter he was injured and he wasn't in the game. He says, like, the UNB, and we had played Alberta our first game, and he said, it's like you have two guys on the puck, every puck, and it's like you guys have an extra person on the ice, and your forecheck's unbelievable. Like, it must be complicated. Like, what is the name of the forecheck? And Hunter Tromley says, it's called the bent knee. So we have bent knee 1 and we have bent knee 2, so again, and we have placement where we want people in that, but I think sometimes you got to let people be comfortable. If we can get someone on the puck as fast as possible and have another person able to help him out, then the third person can be ready after that. And sometimes our forecheck would be no different than novice hockey when you have 10 people and everyone's around the puck, so but that's kind of like the tactics, and then we just added to it as we went, but it's more building the principles how we want to play. And obviously we want to be a team have puck possession as much, but I think we want to go north rather than east-west. We want to make a simple game. So our D-men, rather, we head D to D, but if we could bring it right up, we tried to bring it right up. And that's probably one thing. We had a really skilled defense that liked to handle the puck. And we probably tried to simplify, and instead of 6 seconds with the puck, we only want you to have it 2 seconds. And, make an accurate pass, move it in. I like to, go through the middle of the ice as much as possible. So we tried to work through the middle of the ice, and then, so I think breakouts was a thing that we do, especially once we got the first weekend, we do breakouts every second day. So we probably have 4 or 5 different breakouts drills, but I think that's getting the puck at your own end, to me, is a key concept. Less time in your own zone, the better it is, and I think players will buy into that as well. So we thought we wanted to try to, and again, our D, skate it well and could win races. And the teams we knew that we're playing were teams that attacked off the rush, or all 3 teams were really, really good off the rush. And so that meant we had to be better in the offensive zone of putting the pucks where we're not going to turn it over. So it's trying to take probably a little bit of the one-on-one skill component that players love to play with, and that in January, February, March, and April, go to it. In the month of May, I tried to say, here, we got to be more efficient, and I'm always going to trust the player, to make plays, especially in the offensive zone. But we tried to say, okay, make, like 80% decisions, 90% decisions, 100% decisions, rather than 50% decisions. I mean, you got some players like, William Defoe, he's our lead horse, and you got to let him be who he is. But, he bought into how we want to play as well. And, obviously ended up being the MVP of the tournament. So, and then had a great World Juniors here just recently, so it's great to see where, 1 week can change his life and give him an opportunity for another 10 days to change his life. And now he's one of the few guys that has won a Memorial Cup and a World Championship in the same season.
Awesome. Thanks for that.
I have technical questions, so I'd like to stay on that because I know for me, this is probably, if I were to say this was a coaching clinic, we're getting more details on preparation, the importance of planning, collaboration, all the thing that a coach has to do. And you were able to crunch that into the number of days and time you had in competition and have it pay off. So has anybody else got any other questions related to the tactical things? Because most of the time we get into the emotional intelligence side of coaching and the ethical side of coaching, but this is the actual trenches of coaching. So does anybody have any other questions that you would want Gardner to elaborate upon? I'm so impressed with everything you've said so far, the detail, the focus on 3 zones on every detail. I do have a couple questions, but I would like to hear the group's questions. Mike Benelli, please.
Yeah, well, obviously this is great. So I just had a real quick question. I mean, how much did you rely on, trying to find out the tendencies of the players coming in so quickly, and your own assessment and then assessments from the outside? Like, where did you, or was that really kind of established with that group already? Like, did you see players that maybe you found something in them that wasn't there during the regular season that surprised maybe the rest of the staff?
I think like I had, in a different role, I had watched the team play a couple of times, and I'm from PEI, so I had went over, and Charlottetown had a really good team. Jimmy Holton did a tremendous job with that team over there. And I had watched them play maybe 2 weeks left in the regular season, a game on a Friday night, and St. John was up 6-0. And I remember, you talking to my son on the way home, driving back, and I said, that's the best St. John team I've seen since maybe back like when Danny Flynn was there, when they had won the league last time. I said, like, they played really well tonight. And I think it was a night when Charlottetown wasn't at the top of their game either. So it wasn't, I think the game ended up maybe 8-4 or something like that. But I said, okay, there's a buy-in in that group, and they're playing connected and things like that. And I think part of that, though, was they had, their schedule was just in their conference, and there was teams that were rebuilding and, younger players and stuff. And, so the wins accumulated, and, we've been through that at UMB. We've been lucky, to go through that. And sometimes you need a loss to get ahead. Sometimes you can only go so far winning games, and especially when you get extended winning streaks. And we've been lucky to make mistakes and that type of thing. And, I think when Rimouski, had a really good game plan. I think part of the St. John had some players that were sick during that series, and, their goalie played well. And it was just different factors that, led to just one goal, but that's the game, is 1 goal difference. You can go to a national final and lose by 1 and no one will ever remember you, and you win by 1 and you're a legacy, So I think the players, I had known kind of the players from the cheap seats, and the staff kind of maybe had like a closed view. Okay, this player is this, or this player is this. And I tried to be open-minded as much as I could. And I even with the staff, especially the 2 assistants, I said, like, this is a new kind of beginning, so I use, the JGS is our model here at UMB. And and I've done different conference coaches site and at Roger Nielsen's conference on that type, but JGS is just getting started. So I said, if we're asking the players to be open-minded with a new coach and really kind of a new staff or a new approach, then as coaches, you have to be open-minded. So what this guy did all year, like, let's hope, we can, this is the philosophy now. And so we have to trust the players too, so I tried to build my, image of them from what I saw, not what I had heard or not maybe what I saw. Some of those players I would have watched for 4 years. Like, it was a group of 5 that came in at 16, 17, 18, 19 and had played 4 years. So I would watch them numerous times throughout, And, a good friend of mine, Darren Burns, who, is a coach at Acadia, and his son Brady is a prominent member of the St. John team. And Darren's watched this team more than anybody, from a coaching perspective. And, I've, listened to Darren through the years, from his, from a dad and from a parent or from a coach, so I had some information that, I think could help me, how you want to take the strength of what they have plus what has worked for myself as a coach and in collaboration with the 2 assistants. But I give them full credit too. They're open-minded, and I said, like, I'd like to try this. And even our neutral zone, it was probably like a few days before the tournament, and we said, like, I think we want to try this. Just a little tweak, but it really worked well for us. And they did a great job of presenting that, because we didn't want to present to the players that we're changing everything. Like, this is all, like, there's a lot of good stuff here. Josh Lawrence had a 100-point season. Willie DeFore had 116 or whatever. There's a lot of good things here. So we didn't want to just, dynamite it all and say we're starting fresh, that type of thing. But, we knew we had to add some things just to change a little bit. So, from that concept. So that was from a coach, was getting to know them, building trust in them. And then if you get that, then you build confidence. And even though they had a real success, I think when you lose a series and you get, you're home and, the media is all over you, general manager's going to be all over, the owner's going to be all over you, everyone's going to be all over you. The confidence can take a kick, so, my job was to build that confidence back up, but like earn confidence by being the fittest you've ever been and working the hardest you've ever. And again, we had optimum situation that we could do that. We didn't have 3 games in 3 nights. We didn't have to travel to Charlottetown to play a game. We didn't have to go up to Shawinigan to play a series. We're right in St. John. And the only thing, I think we had 2.5 weeks in, and then the arena was rented out, and there was a country concert. And then, the people come in for the Memorial Cup and do all their logos. And the guy, trying to think, the guy that does the ice from Kelowna, he was outstanding. I can't say how well he did with that ice. Man, he is the ultimate pro. So, but then that meant we had to go out to the Q-Plex, which was, half an hour drive, 25-minute drive or whatever. And so change things up again. But I think it helped, because if you spend 1 month in the same spot, sometimes that could probably maybe get a little monotonous. So now we kind of had a dress room out there, but just like regular, dress room number 3 at the David Bauer Arena. Like, we didn't have all the nice stuff we had at our dress room and the weight room right there. So we had to do our workouts, back at the St. John Arena. And then we had our practices out at the Q-Plex for about, I think, 8-10 days. And we took a bus out, which, helpful. Guys talked together and stuff instead of coming to the rink in cars. We all went to the arena in a bus. And again, a chance to build, continue the team build. They had great facilities out there. We could do some things, sessions up there. We did a couple of PWAs up there. And with our Memorial Cup Challenge finished out there and things like that. So it worked out. And at that initially we were saying, son of a gun, we got to go out here. It's going to change up everything. But in retrospect, I think it was really good for us. And a couple of our games were out there as well that we played. So again, it worked. I think it worked an advantage for us that we got away from our rink for about 8 or 10 days. And then when we come back to our rink, I think we had 1 practice, and then that tournament started.
Yeah, that's great. Thanks.
Peter Smith.
Gardner, obviously, super job in your prep, going up to the tournament, going towards the tournament. I mean, real well organized. I'm not surprised in the least, how comprehensive the prep was. I'm interested to know, kind of moving on, and, once you got to the tournament, once you got to the games, kind of what your approach was going into each game, your delivery of the feedback to the players, the adjustment that you made, because, obviously having the team for a month and preparing, but now you're playing games that are meaningful, and you want to make sure that the players have figured out what it is that you wanted to do over the course of that month, and then were they doing it? What kind of feedback were you giving to them? How were you approaching the games, I guess, is the bottom line, what I'm interested in.
And I think that, Peter, you've been to a lot of national championships. So I think this is where that experience really helped, because now we're down to similar to what we would be at UNB. We'd have a week before the nationals.
Right.
And wherever they were. So now we've got kind of like that 3 weeks of foundation in. We're getting fitter. We're getting more concepts. They know the drills more. We're practicing faster. We're getting more competitive. Our games, there's a couple of fights in our scrimmages, things like that. So they're competing harder and things like that. And they're, and so it's coming together better. But it's the unknown. And TSN does such a great job of broadcasting the other series. And so now you're watching Hamilton play and go, oh my God, they're good. Like you see Mason McTavish and who's who. And I went over to the game, PEI and Shawinigan game number 2 to watch it live. And, Shawinigan's playing tremendous. They got 2 players there that are just, and Charlottetown probably was the better team, but these 2 players were the better 2 players. And they're really good. And then, stay up late enough to watch Edmonton, and holy smokes there, because you're thinking, okay, is there one kind of team that at least we can get one win here, but we got 3 dynamite teams. But again, it's all about us, because so we didn't really, we had the scouting report from Rocky, and he did a great job of that for us. And, my assistants, it took more of maybe the technical. I'm still on our plan, what we want to do as a group. And it's funny when you look back, we had our last scrimmage out at the Q-plex, and again the last 5 minutes we'd have 6-on-5 or 6-on-4 at the end of the scrimmage, and we were playing this other team, and we'd give one line to the other team. We'd have 3 of our own. We had a good group together on the other team, and I remember they scored with 1:30 left to go ahead, and I'm son of a gun. And we got our guys more serious about this game. They wore suits and ties to the games and dressed up like it was a real game. We'd have a pre-game skate in the morning. We do everything like a real game, but it's, obviously it's not a real game, but we tried to mimic as best as possible. So we're down, but just the way it worked, they had to pull their goalie. They had the 6-on-5 at the end. So they had the empty net, but just the way we worked it. And so we scored shorthanded into the empty net with 20 seconds left. And our bench exploded that we tied it. So now I'm thinking, okay, now they're invested here.
Yeah.
They're emotionally invested. They want to win. And I think that's, as coaches, creating the difference between winning and losing is one of the biggest things we can do as coaches, that there's a difference. And then I remember we went to 3-on-3, and our team, we scored a spectacular 3-on-3 goal. And our team jumped off the bench and right on the ice and mobbed the guy that scored the goal. And I'm thinking inside, you think, okay, they're starting to care, about winning. And even though it was a little thing, to me, it was okay. We're on the right track here. And I remember one of my, I went to see, I had some of my former players that are playing pro and some of our UNB guys. And I remember one of my guys said, Coach, I haven't seen you so excited that you're doing the pumpernickel off the bench on a scrimmage. But the players were excited. I had to be excited. Why wouldn't I be? And I remember, we do a few little things, after games and stuff. And I remember going in the dressing room, and the dressing room was you could see in their eyes, they were excited, that they had won the game. They put the ice, the battle in. It was a really good scrimmage as far as scrimmages go, but it was a little thing like that. I said, okay. So then, preparation, then you're looking at everything. To me is all about the game number 1. And that's on a Tuesday night or Wednesday night. And initially we weren't, they had 2 teams practicing in our arena at St. John, and 2 of us had to go to the Q-plex. And I'm following the schedule all along, whatever. But at that time, we went to the guy, and he, I understand, what the other 2 teams in our rink, but I said, we need to practice. We're playing in our rink tomorrow. We don't need to be in another rink. And I think it's important to practice in your own rink. So they said, okay, you'll have to go earlier. You'll have to go at 9 o'clock because Hamilton's on at 10. And I said, we only wanted 30-minute practice before the day anyways. So, and we were used to practice at 9 anyways, because one of our segments or two of our segments were 9 o'clock practices, so, which meant really early mornings coming from Fredericton because I drove every day back from Fredericton to St. John. So that was early mornings to get there, early and things like that. But anyways, it worked out. We had, our practice. Yeah, I always make nowadays, like in the olden days, it was always a pregame skate. Now, there's the jury's out on that. Is a pregame skate valuable? What's the purpose of it? Players play all these games and stuff, but I asked what they did, and they had like kind of a optional pregame skate. They could come if they wanted. They didn't have to if they wanted, so. But I just thought, like, it's a long day, first game of the Memorial Cup, and the group here for the most part now, it traded for Vincent Sevigny, and our goaltender, they both had won the Q championship last year. But the core of this group, the guys for 4 years haven't won a playoff series. The 4-year vets, the 5 of those guys haven't won a playoff series. And so you're looking, okay, and it's a tournament, it's not a series. But, so I thought it was important that we do a pregame skate. And I go back to Andy Murray, was a mentor of mine in Western Canada when I started coaching. And he was always the 13-minute pregame skate when he coached the LA Kings and different things. So I've incorporated the 13-minute pregame skate. Coach Mac pregame skates 13 minutes. So I said, listen, we're only going 13 minutes, but we're going to go. And so I think it was just too long a day without skating. We were at the Hilton Hotel, which is 10-minute walk. Guys could come to the arena and stuff like that. So we had our pregame skate in the morning. One thing I think, and it's different because ours is a tournament, it's not a season. The video is so paramount now. But and the video is real key, obviously. But I said, like, when the guys come to the rink at 5 o'clock, some come earlier, but they have to all be there at 5. I said, we don't have any video. So, the power play guy and the penalty kill, they want, the video is a key part of your opponent. So I said, like, if you want to show it after a pregame skate, show it then. If you want to show it at the hotel after the pregame meal, show it then. But I just, again, going back to clarity and simplification, I said, we want to make really simple for the players on game day. So I think, the game day skate was good. They all walked over together. They all left together. They, had the meal together, had their rest, and then they came to the arena. And then, I have a little talk maybe at 5:25 or so. That was it. We had our fitness guy in to do the movement prep with them to get them ready. We kind of changed that a little bit because they were, I guess, traditionally all season a slow starter. The first periods were tough periods. So we just kind of changed that a little bit, just more probably the mindset. And, we're lucky in the first game that we scored early. I think it helped got the crowd into it and everything, but it was just trying to just be simple but build confidence. This is what we do. I had some experience of being to national championships before, and these are things that work for us, that type of thing. So, fortunate, I think they're in a good mindset when they got to the rink, and then, it's still, there's the unknown, and another big thing about the Memorial Cup is the press coverage is incredible, like at a national championships at U Sport, we have 8 or 10 reporters after a game, maybe 12, and there's 25 or 30 at the Memorial Cup. And I remember the day before press conference, and they asked, how do you think your team's going to do? Or, and I said, well, let's look at here. I said, I checked with our analytics people, and he checked. We're ranked number 9 in the Q based on our playoff performance. And I said, if you do the math, there's 3 leagues. So we're ranked number 27 in Canada. And we're playing number 1 ranked. We're playing number 2 ranked, and we're playing number 3 ranked, and we're ranked 27th. And then I said, we haven't played for 39 days. We haven't had a game for 39 days. I said, the coach is in the CHL, his last game in the CHL was an assistant coach with Todd McClellan and Brad McEwen in 1999 for the Swift Current Broncos, and their record was 0-3-1. And he will make his debut as a head coach in game number 1 of the Memorial Cup. So I said, would you be fair to say we're the overwhelming underdogs? So that's how we had the mindset. Now, of course, I didn't say that to the players, because the players are saying, hey, we got to, but again, it's the unknown. And, we knew we were going to play a really good team, like Hamilton, we'd watched them. Rocky had scouted them extensively. They have tremendous players, so, but we were fortunate enough to get a goal early, which I think was really key to our success. I think game 1 was key to our success and the tournament success, but scoring early, the guys realized, okay, we can play with these guys. And I think, any coach will tell you the most important part of a game is the lead, and you want to get it, and you want to be able to protect it. And if you can, you want to extend it, so that was an inside theme that we wanted to, to try to get the lead as much as possible. And we're fortunate in game 1 to get the lead, to be able to hold it, and got a chance to extend it at different times, so that was a real key part when you look back, winning the first game in that series, because, it just gives these guys some, we would try to build a confidence with our preparation, but now that they actually saw, okay, that we can win a game at the Memorial Cup.
Any other questions from anybody?
You talked in one of your press conferences, you talked about, I can't remember how you put it, but something maybe looking for Lady Mo or something along. Yeah, I can't remember exactly how you put it, but so what did you do to help the players to get the momentum going their way?
Listen, Peter, as coaches, if we knew how to put momentum in a team and in players,
we'd be all set, right?
We'd be multi-millionaires.
I couldn't agree with you more.
Yeah, we'd have 500 teams a year wanting to hire us to come in and show the magic formula. But no, and it was interesting because when you look at, like, we won the first game, we played Edmonton, and it was a really exciting game. They had we scored a couple of quick goals. I guess we proved we could come back too in that game, but it ended up tied. And so for the first time in CHL, in Memorial Cup history, there's a 3-on-3 overtime, which was ultimately, like, if you go to a game and watch it as a fan, the 3-on-3 can take the worst hockey game in the world. The 3-on-3 can make it a 10 out of 10, so, and it was an exciting, it would drive you crazy as a coach, because guys, would be out there 30, 40 seconds and then get a chance to go on the rush and then wouldn't succeed. And then they couldn't back check. And then they never got off, and then they get the puck again. And we had a few extended shifts, I think, on that, but it was really exciting. We had chances to win. Our goalie was outstanding, made big saves, and then we lost. And it was kind of a thud, which it should be. Like when I think, and so it was, again, a new experience to go in that dressing room with a loss. But again, I think it was there's lots of positives in that game for us. We had just played, I think those two teams were probably ranked 1 and 2. We just played both of them, and we're right there with them. So there's a lot of confidence, but I think there has to be some suffering when you lose. So I said, we have to be better. I said we had opportunities, and, so that sets up the third game. So in retrospect, I think winning and losing was important for our group, because they got to feel both. If we had won both games, and as William DeFore said the next day, he said, listen, we got a point for the overtime. We had 3 points for the win. So whether we had 5 points or 4 points, we still had to beat Shawinigan to get into the finals, like to get the automatic berth in the finals. So that perspective was really good for us. And then the Shawinigan game they had an unbelievable first period. We had a pretty good first 10 minutes. We just couldn't score. And then we had a really tough 10 minutes. And, it's one of those 10 minutes where you just said, well, that clock go faster so we can just get to the dressing room. And 2-0 was okay. The third goal was a disappointing goal, because, like, we just didn't work. And we had a guy that was probably 10 feet behind 4 of our guys in their offense, or his defensive zone, beat 4 of our guys to get an opportunity to score a backhanded goal. So, and that put them up 3-0, and they hit the post with 4 seconds left. Would have made it 4-0 because we took kind of a bad penalty. So we're down 3-0, but again, it was a new opportunity. We hadn't been through this before, so it's it's okay. What can what did you say to them, all that type of thing. But like the group was like, I give them a lot of credit. They really grew during this tournament, and it was really going in the dressing room, and we lose. I think Jerry York had told me about one time, but I go in the dressing room, Peter. I say, Peter, what do you see? Like, you're a player. And I go to Tim, what do you see? And I could go to Tom, and what do you see? I could pick 3 players out and just, what do you guys see? Because whether we like it or not, their perspective is still the players, and then as a coach, you can get their perspective. What do they see? Because you hope they see the same as what you see. We didn't work hard enough, and we're not competing hard enough. But you don't know. So, and thankfully, whatever the 3 guys I picked out or 4 guys I picked out, they were dead on. And then you can use that as your foundation for the talk that you're going to give them, and maybe there's some spirit behind your talk, but you need emotion, at that time. But, their response was tremendous. And that's a Willie DeFore moment, the 3 goals in 5 minutes. Like, wow, they just took that game over, and then you get the crowd behind it. And, I came up with the Lady Mo thing of the momentum, like I said, special lady in our life. I said, we have grandmothers and wives, and I have a daughter, and we have sisters. And but I said the key tonight was the special lady named Lady Mo. And the momentum, like once you get that, as a coach, you get that, and it's hard to get, and you don't know how long it's going to last, but you just hope it stays with you. That type of stuff. And the guys, we had an emotional group, that you need emotion, but you just got to always make sure the emotion doesn't go over the top. And then when it goes over the top, then you become undisciplined in your structure and undisciplined in your conduct, and interesting. When we did our goal setting, we had set some goals through, and we did a lot of different goal setting for weeks, what we want to get better at, and for the players. But we did our team goals, and I had never done it before, but I said, just based on, like, say, the penalties maybe St. John had taken, based on what we knew from previous winners of the Memorial Cup, I had said, like, we can only take 3 penalties or less a game. And I had never put a number on a team before. And one game we had 3 penalties in the first period. And my thing, okay, that's perfect. The quote is used, fellas, so we don't need to take any more of the rest of the game now. And we didn't. But again, I think it's putting the mindset out there in a good way. And the same with this group. I said, like, we had taken that game, we had taken 2 kind of bad penalties, and we had to kill a penalty to start the second period. And I remember Willie DeFore got a shorthanded breakaway, and the goalie stopped them, because I thought, boy, if we can score shorthanded, that will get this place going. He stopped them, but then we killed the penalty off, and our penalty kill wasn't that great at that time. Like, it was actually pretty good, but we had given up goals. And I remember going to Stefan. I said, like, things like there's circumstances. Sometimes a goal happens. Like, your system or your philosophy is perfect. And I said, don't try to overcomplicate. Hey, just continue to believe, because if you start getting uptight, then the players will get uptight. And even our power play didn't start really good. I think we're 0 for 5 or something. But I said the same thing. I said, our power play will score when and our goal power play was, we just need 1 goal a game. Let's forget about percentages. Let's just try to get 1 a game, and it'll help us. And obviously, it proved to help us in the last 2 games. But once we got back in that game at 3-3, you can feel the momentum coming on our side. The crowd is really into it. And the Shawinigan team, really well coached, and a bit of a team of destiny. Like they were down 1 goal in Quebec City, full house, 15,000 in the deciding game, and had come back and tied it in the last minute, and then scored in overtime. They were kind of the underdog for that series, and then they were supposed to only go 5 games against PEI, and they ended up beating PEI. So they've won big games on the road. They've been in pressure situations before, and those teams of destiny are sometimes scary to play, because they got that momentum behind them somewhere. So I think when we got back 3-3, and then we're lucky, we finally they took some penalties then, and we got a goal, our first goal in the power play, which proved to be the winning goal in that game. We went up 4-3. And the place, the roof came off, the arena, so you got momentum on your side, that type of thing. And, got to have the second, and then you got a third period, but you have a lead. But that became a really key. Obviously, it gave us a direct route right into the Memorial Cup finals. So it builds a lot of confidence. And plus, then you got, we had 3 days to prepare for one game,
Yeah.
So I think that was really helpful in the big picture.
Brack.
Yeah, Gardner, I'd be interested to know before you got there versus when you got there, was the distribution of ice time leveled or become more even, or was it identical, or did you get more out of the, I guess, the top end players with less time? I guess what I'm asking is the dynamic of energy, which, with the fitness and everything else, that is part of two parts of the question. Number one, was there a noticeable change in the actual ice time allotment based on the crew that you had? That's the first part of the question. And then the second part of the question is, did you find that that month, you had to, take a group and get them ready almost as a refreshing time? Because I mean, to go the 4 series is in in any junior level, it's probably the toughest thing to do, and especially mentally, to get to the Memorial Cup, like it and so sometimes the mind, I think, has a lot more power than sometimes the physical part of the body. Did you think that month kind of not only refreshed, obviously you did, but not having to go through all the series, did it become an advantage?
Yeah, no question. And I had mentioned that's one of the controllable variables that we had somewhat. We wanted to be in great shape, because I've seen teams that get knocked out and didn't probably be fit enough. So we had to find that fine line of being the best shape of your career. And then Travis was pretty good. Like he had shown me their average shift length of, their team throughout the year. And he thought it could probably be reduced, and, so we probably, again, simplify. We made the shift shorter and hopefully they'd be more intense. And then when you play TV timeouts, it's a big difference as well. There's 3 TV timeouts. They're 2 minutes each, and or a minute and a half, each. That's a big change, and you're, it's like the NHL. They have those TV timeouts every game, so that's one reason why you can have the intensity level, because you kind of get the little mini break 3 times during a period, so, and your top players and things like that. So, but, I think the group bought into, and then the scrimmages helped there because, okay, we had some really good offensive talent, but, we just had probably buying in away from the puck a little more, and just buying in that, maybe the chance is not there every shift. It's like playing a game of pool, and you want to sink the 8 ball, but there's sometimes your shot, you just can't make it. So you got to put the ball that's going to be harder for that guy to make the 8 ball, that type of thing. So just changing a little bit of the mindset and just buying into the whole process. So, but it, I think how the guys played, they played fast, they played hard, and they had, quick shifts, but they're getting back out there. You're going to get the same amount of ice time, but we're just going to, it's instead of, say 12 shifts at 60 seconds or 55 seconds, we're going to get 17 shifts at 35 seconds. You're still going to get the same at the end. You're going to still have that, that type of thing. So, so yeah, I think obviously it worked out where we wanted, the big picture.
So just following up. So was the ice distribution, did you adjust it all? Did it change at all from what they were used to? Like in terms of, 4 lines, 3 lines, whatever. Was there much of a change there?
I think we probably, just because of the TV timeouts, it's tougher to get your fourth line as much action, unless those fourth line guys are penalty killers, and our guys weren't really the penalty killers. And two of our guys in the fourth line were like barely banged up. One guy's had needed an ACL. He played with an ACL. He needed ACL surgery at the end. The other guy had a bad wrist, like, badly, so those guys in regular season both wouldn't play, so they weren't at 100% health wise, which sometimes made and the other guy, I could bump him up in the other lines and he could get some shifts there and stuff there. So but most teams, if you look at the ice time allocation, like the three teams we played, or at least two of the three teams we played, were 3-line teams all the way through the playoffs. And there were 5D teams all the way through the playoffs. One team was a big 4D team, so, and that's the neat thing about the world today. You can check your opponents and who plays the most, and do they play 4 lines? Do they play 3 lines? Do they play 4D? Things like that. There's the accessibility to way more information than before. But again, it was more about our team, that type of stuff, and we have all that information at the end, and I'll look at it, I guess, and see, but that might be assistance more, but I think, it worked out, where we wanted. And you've got top guys. And again, these special teams, your power play is obviously going to get more, your penalty kills get more. So we wanted to, with the goal setting of only 3 penalties a game, that helped us get more 5-on-5 shifts, so technically only giving up 6 minutes, where maybe before it was giving up 10 or 12 minutes. That was 6 extra minutes that we're going to play 5-on-5, or maybe we'd be on the power play, So again, I go back to what I said first. The players were so receptive. Anything we asked of them, they really bought in and did their best to try to fulfill whatever we asked them.
Peter, before I go to you, I want to take advantage of having Kerry on the line. Gardner, Kerry won, I think, 4 national midget AAA championships. He became a GM of the Hitmen, and I believe, Kerry, you might have gotten to the Memorial Cup with that team.
Well, the year I was there, we went to the Western Final. And then it was the next year that Kissio had kind of taken over. I was still there, but we went to the Memorial Cup, but I wasn't the GM of that time. But it had big parts of building that team.
Okay. Well, here's my question. Kerry rolled the lines. I've sort of had that same philosophy growing up. My question for you is, did you have the same players kill penalties that played on the power play?
Yeah, going back to the fourth line first, at UMB, we'll use 4 lines a lot. But I think you adjust each situation, and then Kerry can probably relate at the AAA Wrigley or Air Canada Cup, whatever it was called. There probably wasn't 3 timeouts a period.
No.
Yeah, and so you have to adjust for that, and but when you play both, players that played both, we had a couple, 2 or 3, and usually at UMB would be similar. I try to, if we can, we try to have a role for everybody. Hopefully you can work. Let's say you got 12 forwards that, got now with more power plays, 4 forwards. Rather than in the old days, it'd be 2D and three forwards. Now more power plays are 4. Sometimes they're 5 forwards. So usually you can get somewhere 6 to 7 forwards who are going to be on your power play. And then that leaves, ideally, I think you should have 8 forwards that can kill. Probably you're only going to use 6 a lot, sometimes maybe 4, depending on situations. But I think you should have 8 available. And even when you practice, I think it's important to be able to have that many to be able to. So if you go 8 and 7, that's 15, and you have 12 that are dressed. So you're going to have 3 guys that double up. And that's usually the case. So in our case, we'd have 2 to 4, depending on situations. We may, like, one player may have had more, let's say, more importance on the power play than the penalty kill, but he still killed penalties. So, but maybe, again, this is a tournament, it's not regular season. So, and again, we were really disciplined. So, like, if you go, let's say if you take 4 penalties in a row, and your best player sits for 8 minutes, I think as a coach, you got to get your best player out there, and whether he's a penalty killer or not, you got to get him on the ice. You can't just sit him on a bench for 8 minutes. So you're hoping you're your best player. A lot of times your best players are offensive, but again, building them into, like, I remember a quote when Detroit were winning the Stanley Cups, and Scotty Bowman was there, and I said, the Red Wings, where the scorers learn to grind and the grinders learn to score. And so that's always been a principle myself as a coach. And so if you look at the last game in the Memorial Cup final, our third line, Cam McDonald scored, Riley Bezo scored, and Peter Reynolds scored. So we got 3 big goals. Our last national championship out in Lethbridge against Alberta in the national final game there. Sam Dub McFalls is our third, fourth line center. Mark Razel's our third line left wing. Oliver Cooper is our fourth line winger. And they scored 3 of the 4 goals we scored. The other goal was scored in the power play, which I say you need power play to score 1 a game. So in the biggest game of the year, at the university level, and the biggest game, obviously, at the Memorial Cup, we scored a power play goal, and obviously DeFore and Josh Lawrence had big nights. They both scored. But our third line, so-called third line, and I don't, 1, 2, 3, they're all important to me. I said, sometimes your third line is your most important line, depending on the game, but if people are asking what the lines, that would be our third line. They scored 3 goals that game. They all scored. And, obviously they're on the ice, with a minute and a half left, and scored the empty net goal, so I think it goes back to, there's some duplication answering your long-winded answer to your question, but I think you try to give guys roles, as some type of role that they're going to fit in and feel valued. And obviously special teams is a valued role, but to me, it's a privilege, and you have to earn them, that type of thing. So yeah, it worked out.
I want to, I've highlighted Bowman's quote. That's a line for the ages. Scorers learn, grinders learn to score, and scorers learn to grind. That's excellent. Peter, go ahead.
Gardner, it's cliche to say that you learn more by losing than you do by winning, but I'm not sure that's necessarily true. I think you learn in any situation. I'd be interested to know, you won, and so there's a justification for everything that you did. But I'd be interested to know if there's things that you would have done differently. What you learned from the experience. You're a lifelong learner, I know. So I'd be interested to know kind of what your thoughts are on that.
Yeah, I mean, in retrospect, and it's been a busy summer, so it's not like I haven't even watched one of the games yet. And I said that's one of the things you'd like to watch, because TSN does a great job, and you'd like to just sit down and take some time and watch a game. I haven't had a chance to watch a game yet, but I think you also learn that something like the value of confidence cannot be overstated or understated. I guess you could go both ways, but because, crucial situations, and you just, because, you have to reach out to every player, but William DeFore, I knew that he's got to be our best player. And, I had looked up his regular season. He was second in the queue. In the playoffs, he had 1 point or 2 points in 5 games. And I had that stat to bring him into, okay, but I never had to use it, because, and he played right wing. I remember after 2 practices, I texted him and I said, listen, would you be interested in playing center tomorrow in practice, just to try it? Because I think you could be really good at it. And he was like ecstatic. Coach, I played center before. I would love to play center. And we mixed and matched our top 6. Like, I always say Scotty Bowman did a little bit, and that's coach's hunches through, every coach has his hunch who could play who in certain situations. But, we put 3 really offensive guys together as one, like a 1A, 1B, I'd call it probably. And William was in the middle. Ryan France is a really gifted offensive player. And, Our other guy was a centerman before we put him on the left wing. He's an Ottawa draft pick, and put those three together and see what would happen, And then Josh Lawrence, when this kid from Latvia, Ravis, Avius, I guess he's a Pittsburgh pick. He was our best two-way guy, and he can play center or the wing. And we had an abundance of centers, which every coach loves, So he got to play some center and allowed Josh to play some wing at times too, because Josh has tremendous offensive instinct. So that worked. But then sometimes we'd put Josh and William, had 200 points between them. Yeah, because the top line probably. But we kind of split them up a little bit, and then we put them back together at certain times because I'm going for okay. If it doesn't go well here and I don't have them together, what are people going to say? What the heck do you break them up for? So they got a chance to play together. They're on the power play together, and obviously a big goal in the Memorial Cup final they scored with Willie there. So, but we kind of mixed and matched on hunch. Some games they stayed together more. Some games we mixed them up a lot. That type of thing. And tried different things. We tried that top six. We just tried, the Shawinigan game. Sometimes we tried different combos in that game with them, and it all worked out. Probably the Memorial Cup final, we probably didn't have to change the lines as much. We kind of got the lead. Everyone was playing really well. We didn't have to make that many adjustments. So overall, it worked out pretty good.
Gardner, you mentioned you made changes, combination changes, chemistry changes in game. Can you describe that gut feeling that allowed you to create those combinations, to make changes within a game?
Yeah.
Oh, yes. A lot of secrets, Wally,
I think the biggest thing that is letting the players know beforehand. And because you learn, because let's say you have a line together, let's say Peter has a line together all year and they're doing tremendous. And then they get to the playoffs and they don't score in the first game and they don't score in the second game, and then he breaks them up. Well, from the perspective of the player, they're asking, why is the coach panicking? And that's from the players. Like, we played together all year. Why isn't he patient and loyal to us? So I've always, and I've learned that, we've had lines that have been tremendous, and sometimes when it counts, the tight check and whatever it may be. So in our scrimmages, we played with combinations. The 5 scrimmages we had, we played with different combinations. And even the first few days, because how players come in and, okay, who's on what line? New coach, who's on what line? And for the first 2 days, the forwards all wore red. And then by the third day, I was comfortable and saying, okay, here. And Travis and Stefan were really good. Here's lines again, they've been with this team all year. Here's lines that we think could work, and not big adjustment, but maybe just little adjustments. But they just said, like, try these. And that's what we did, and but then again, it's, players get on a new line and sometimes it ticks, sometimes it doesn't, but it's getting them to buy in. And hey, and I say, listen, there's going to be Scotty Bowman times, fellas. And, Scotty Bowman was notorious for mixing and matching. So I just call it Scotty Bowman time now. And so they knew that's going to go. And it's not always when we're losing, like, a lot of coaches, okay, it's not going well, so change the lines. It could be when we're winning. It may be, it's Dave Cameron, they asked him about Connor Bedard, why he was on this line after the semifinal game. Well, he just wasn't, there's other guys playing better. I mean, it's just, but that's, the reality, players know that's coming. So I think if again, being proactive rather than reactive, and saying, hey, these are things that can happen. This is how I coach, fellas. So if you're being moved around, that's not a bad thing. That's just a hunch on me. Trust me, and it could work out. And it's nothing more gratifying than when you make one of those little switches and the line goes out and gets a goal, or within that period or whatever, that type of thing. So some of those worked out off a face-off. We, one game we put a shooter out there. We ended up scoring a goal off a face-off, and it worked out. So. But no, I said, again, the players were really receptive. They bought into everything. And again, it's the same thing. Defensemen, you like to play 6. We played 5. We had a young guy who was a 6D. He was a 17-year-old, did okay the first game. Second game got kind of caught out on a 2-on-1, gave up a goal. got caught on another 2-on-1, and he just went down to 5D. That's just kind of the way it is. He's young, and then just the way it won, it probably didn't get a lot of ice the rest of the tournament. But that's just sometimes the way things happen. But again, it's talking to the player, given the perspective. This is, and just be ready to play when your name's called.
Tim Bothwell.
Yeah, thanks, Wally. I just wanted to jump in because I got to actually jump off, and just wanted to thank Gardner for coming on. It's been a treat to listen to, and it's not hard to see how you've had so much success over the years. And I look forward to maybe bumping into you somewhere down the road. But I love your comment about confidence cannot be, the value cannot be overstated. Is one of our things as Sharks, and one of Wally's things is, a coach's number one job is to transmit belief in their players. And through this whole hour and a half here, you can clearly see that that's like front and center of in your mind all the time, is the belief in your players and the belief in your team. And it's just it's a wonderful thing to see and hear. So thank you very much for coming on, and sorry you got to jump off, guys, but I'll certainly love to listen to the rest of this when Wally sends it out. So thanks, Gardner, and see you guys.
Hey, it's been always a pleasure. And I love those, when I was a young coach, those presentations you did in Calgary for Hockey Canada. You and Wally were front and center in those days. And I still have the binders to my right here. And I try to go through those different concepts on a yearly basis. Just there's always little things you can pick up. So tremendous.
Great. Enjoy, guys.
Yeah. And same thing, Wally. I probably have I have a 1:30. Yeah, so 10 minutes or so. If that would work for you guys, that'd be super.
Yeah, I just have one question. Going from coaching the CIS, mature graduate players from major junior, and then going back to actual coaching major junior players, what were the challenges or differences, and how did you have to adapt?
Yeah, and I've been asked that a lot. I said hockey players are hockey players. They want to get better. They want to be challenged, and they want to know that you can make a difference to help them. So it doesn't matter. I have 6 to 8 year olds here at 4:00. The same thing. They want to get better. They want to enjoy the experience. And the hockey players are competitive by nature. So and we get the 20-year-old graduates, 21, which we have 3 of those. But overall, they're outstanding. And sometimes as coaches we assume, and I think we got lucky because we had the 30 days and we could start at ground zero, how we wanted things, right back how we wanted to pass the puck. I'm kind of old school. I'm not John Wooden, here's how you tie your shoes, but I do go, the first thing we do every year is how we want their hands and how we want to follow through and how to pass the puck. And we did the same thing in St. John, because I think passing is the number one skill, that we got to work on as Canadians, but good teams have it. And we want to get better at it. That simple skill of passing the puck, and especially our defensemen to move it quicker. I'm kind of a bit of the passes have to be on the tape. We shouldn't miss passes, we always have in our opening drills, for a practice, we have openers, maybe 4 drills openers, do our little stretch, and then practice starts. And, we'll have the 3 pass rule. There's only 3 passes missed in those 4 drills by the whole team, and we should be at that level. And we want to pass the puck like pros. We want to pass it fast and accurate, But no, they were tremendous. Again, hockey players are hockey players. And, our guys have a little bit more experience, maybe when they come to university and that type of thing. But these guys, I was fantastic. And, one of the things, we have at UNB, we've through the, past probably 8-9 years, we'd have probably 2, maybe at the most 5 French speaking players. And they've been tremendous players for us. In St. John, we had 14. So, and they bring lots of great emotion. And it was a bit of like one of the activities we had done just in the dress room in our challenge. And wow, like it was, second day we did this little contest, and the emotion out of that dress room, I said, wow, if we can get this energy steered the right way, we got lots of energy here. And but I tried to, even though I don't speak French, I tried to, have 14 guys that speak French as their first language. So I'd ask our captain, okay, tell me in French or tell me in English or whatever it may be. And they did give me the 10 phrases in French that I need to know as a coach for you guys. So I want to give them the opportunity, to have a meaningful voice as well, that type of thing. So.
Gardner, excellent job. I'm sure this is one that we're going to have a lot of people listen to the entire hour, 34 minutes. Really, you're speaking to the choir when it comes to emotional intelligence and coaching. And boy, you've highlighted that in spades in terms of the way you coach. A friend of mine's written a book, and he has a line. It's called Coaching or Leadership is about doing the right stuff, the right amount, the right time, the right amount, the right the right amount, the right time. And Tim Bothwell has added the right way, and you just seem to do that perfectly. So congratulations on your performance, and it's great having you on. Some of us are going to stay on and talk over about what we might have got out of it. And I know that Tom, he and I are usually the last two on, and he leaves when he has to go to practice. And he's still skating at 75 years old. And I think he gets about 3 ice times a weekend, and he's still having a great time loving the game. And I'm sure all of the players that you've coached and touched are going to play the game as long as Tom is. So thank you very much for your time, Gardner. I really appreciate it. I'm going to edit little bits and pieces out, but this is one that's the entire thing is priceless. So thank you so much for coming on.
Yeah, listen, it's an honor and a privilege for what you guys do. And I said it's great to I guess move things forward or pay forward. And I know, Wally, when you did all those different topics out when we did that Hockey Canada, and I was a young coach from northern Manitoba coming to Calgary, and Tim and the different people you have on, it's just a real honor. And this is tremendous what you guys do on a weekly basis. It's outstanding. And I said, I need a couple of 40-hour days here. Our team comes back next Wednesday, and but I need 7 40-hour days to catch up with all the knowledge you guys have out there and that you distribute on a weekly basis. So the pleasure's all mine. Thank you very much.
Like I mentioned, Gardner, to Tom Rennie, I says, you got to join the Sharks when you retire, because that's when you'll have time.
Yes.
And I don't know if you'll ever retire, but
yeah.
When you stop coaching and are looking for something to stay in the game with, come on board, because the people on here, we're lifelong learners, and the title "No Dead Sharks" comes from Tim Bothwell's line in the Woody Allen movie.
Yes.
His girlfriend in the movie asked him what does he think of the relationship, and he said, "Well, it's like a shark. It's not swimming, it's not breathing, it's dying." So we're all
great.
swimming and learning. So thanks again for your time, Gardner. Really appreciate it.
Yeah. All the best, fellas. Thank you.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Excellent.
Well, guys, I'm just curious here if some of you are staying on about your favorite takeaways from this, if anything. Anybody?
I think what I found to be the most refreshing was that the processes and the ways that he went from the CIAU to the junior, and how he got his team to play the best that they could, and didn't really worry about, the oppositions. He knew what he was up against, and they were the underdogs. But it was very refreshing to me having those viewpoints and the things that made them successful, because it just reminded me that the way that I've always done things isn't outdated. And occasionally Sharks get referred to as outdated, and I really take offense to that, because the minds that are on here are all leading edge in my mind. And the things that he talked about just reconfirmed a lot of the beliefs that I've held my whole life, and a lot of the people here obviously hold. I was laughing through most of it, because it reconfirmed to me that the good of what he did, and how he did it, and got the team to focus within themselves. And you know what? It's a hockey game. The score is 0-0 when you start, and if you don't beat yourself, and you play within your means, and I love the simplicity that he talked about, because I think that that's one of the challenges we face is simplifying this thing. The principles. I love the word principles too. It was well done.
Okay, go ahead, Kerry. Anything else?
Nope, not right now.
Okay, Jordan.
Yeah, I just jump on what Kerry was saying there. The big takeaway for me is he calls them principles instead of systems, looking more principles than systems. I know that Marty St. Louis, it was structure over systems. So it's that piece of big picture thinking rather than having players so stuck on systems that they don't think. So it's that piece. And yeah, it was really good, Wally. Thanks for having him on.
Tom Malloy.
I think it was great. It was great how we kind of restructured their mindset when he got them together. Play with the principles, and that they were going to be the hardest workers. I think that's a big thing. That one of the biggest things he's done, and I hear from other years, his teams are more fit and work harder than other teams. And I think that's what he implemented there. That was the important thing for the guys to do, shorten the shifts up a little, and really give it when you're out there. And that's, everybody knows that's what you should do, but it's really hard to implement.
It's probably what drives us all crazy, Tom, because it's probably not as hard to implement. It just, we don't. And, or I shouldn't say we wouldn't, but I love the, maybe taking the minute shift down to a 48-second shift with high intensity. And I started giggling about it. It was just refreshing. I'll tell you that much.
I liked his reference, and this is what intrigued me. He talked about 3-line hockey, making the 4th line still feel valued and using them at that level and giving TV time out. It all made sense. Kerry, you talked about minor hockey being 2-line and even 1-line hockey, and that point of shift length, exhaustion, physiology for the sake of winning is the demise of our game. And so when you said the Sharks are outdated, you're right. We're outdated, but we're right.
Wow, but we're also leading edge, and I think that's the unfortunate part about it. I mean, because we got open minds, and you've seen the successes that stuff like this brings. I don't find the Sharks outdated at all. All I find out is that a lot of people don't respect the experiences and the mindsets of the people they should, and that's a crime to me, Tom. I mean, there's plenty of us that have been through the experiences out there and had successes, and and Gardner, I mean, with his university team is a 4-line team because they play at such high intensity that they have to. They couldn't fundamentally play. And there's a different amount of games at the university level. versus the junior level. I understand that, but I think for the most part, what he does is he gets everyone to feel a part of the team, and that's what's important.
It's the weirdest thing in minor hockey that they have you like in Canada, unless you're in the very elite like the AAA, they have 17 skaters, which is 11 forward, 6D, or you know what I mean? So you always have to have somebody double shifting or rotating double shifting, and even for practice, it's crappy. Because if you have 4 lines, the way you can run practice and roll things is so much better than you have, that 2 players on one thing. And I have no idea why Hockey Canada has that rule of 19 instead of 20.
Well, and I think at the younger ages, like before you get to Bantam, AA, and even some of the Pee-wees, I would like to have more teams, and I like the 3 lines and 5 defense to get more rotation and playing more game time, but with you have more teams. So instead of getting narrower with the numbers and having one team that has 4 lines and or whatever that amount is, just add another team and do the 3 lines and 5D. It all depends how much ice you got too, right?
Well, I think 3 lines and 3 sets of D would be better than 17 skaters. And probably because I've coached college so much that you practice so much that it just makes practices just way easier to manage and distribute the work and all this better.
You don't exhaust the kids as much in practice because there's enough guys to.
I wanted to get Hal's feedback, sort of with his lifetime experience and still actively coaching in high school hockey. What are your takeaways from his presentation, Hal?
Well, I just love it. That's a very, very unique situation. But it's no different actually than if you come in as a brand new coach in a different program, or you got a whole new group. You have to do some of the things that he had to do. But as I think about the whole thing, and just like Kerry was saying, and you listen to him and you go, oh yeah, I know that. You were going, but why do we know that? Because we've been doing this for so long, and we learned. He learned too. You don't grow up, you're not hatched as a baby as a hockey coach and know all this stuff, right? You got to learn it. You got to learn it the hard way sometimes, and unless you're just stubborn. But I really thought it was terrific. I also think that the 3-line, 4-line stuff, Tom, you're right. Practicing with that short number is clearly a problem. In minor, you call it minor, we call it youth. Where I coach down here, a lot of the teams only have 13 skaters, and then they have more teams. But it's hell for practice. It's awful. But you know what they do? They don't practice very much. They play a lot of games. They play 65 or 70 games, and and I don't like that because. They develop a lot of bad habits if you don't get them back on the practice rink and kind of dial them back in. But anyways, overall, I thought it was great. I'm going to share Wally, I'm going to share the video of this with the head coach of our program. I'm going to send it up to the trail head coach in the BCHL. I think hopefully he'll watch it. I hope he'll get a lot out of it. In the last week, one of my former players is applying for his first head coach job at a high school in Minnesota. So I've been on the phone with him quite a bit. So he's going to get a link for this. So yeah, I just we're not out of date. We do it right, I think. So I loved it. Thanks for asking for my input. I appreciate it. Sometimes I talk too much, but I appreciate you including me.
the most, the thing that I was reminded of and took away, and I'm almost embarrassed about, was the attention to detail that he has
Mhm.
and how he looks after the X's and O's to a degree that I've never done. And coupled with that, his ability to know the importance of players feeling important and valued, how to communicate with them so that they believe in themselves and to buy in, is a perfect example of how to coach in that environment. So I think it's a lesson for all coaches that there's a line between being too technical, and I don't mind just playing games, Hal, because not every coach is going to have the knowledge to teach. They might confuse and they
Yep.
might turn kids off and be negative. So they might be better off just playing games
Yep.
and focusing on good habits and cheering good habits, but writing a list down of what are they, and let's cheer each other about the good habits. And let's
Well, the
not.
other thing that, yeah, that he said, and he said it really quickly, which I haven't done it every year, but I've done it quite often. You know, he does a profile sheet on every kid. He has them fill it out. You know, what's your favorite movie? What's the last book you read for pleasure? Did any of your parents play sports at a high level? And if so, what are they? Do you have an older brother or a sibling that's a great? So you can, you know, what's your favorite course in school? So you have, you know, so now what you're doing is you're saying, I care about you. I want to know who you are. And I think that goes a long ways. And I think I used to say, and when I did that role of the coach for the USA Hockey clinics forever, I'd say you've got to spend twice as much time coach on the off ice on getting to know players than you're already doing. To do this right takes a ton of time. It's 800 hours a year, and most coaches won't spend the time. They just won't invest enough into the kids and getting to know them. If they play other sports, show up at those games in the off season. Just show up. That's all you got to do. You know, stuff like that. I mean, detail, caring. Get those kids to know you care about them.
If I was to describe Gardner, the most important thing is he's authentic.
Oh.
He's authentic. You can trust him in a hurry. And trust builds respect. And once you have that buy-in, is easy. So he's a coach that walks the talk of the mission statement of what sports are for. He really appreciates the importance of hard work, work ethic, learning, accepting roles, earning roles. I'm just so thankful he was able to come on, and I might encourage him to come on again later when we can get another prominent guest in and have some questions ready for them. I know everything I wanted to ask was covered over the course of the entire conversation. So, Brax, I'm glad you could join us. Welcome. I thought about you and how you built a team of grinders to win. I don't imagine your grinders, they did learn to score, but that Scotty Bowman line, your team learned to do what they could do to the best of their ability, and it achieved success. And I think Gardner would be really proud of what you've done with those young kids and with your philosophy. So let's keep banging on the door of ethical coaching and doing things the right way and making the game better. Thanks very much, everybody. I appreciate your time. We're close to 2 hours. It's an average length session. So Tom, anything you want to say in closing?
Oh, I really enjoyed this session here. Dan going to play this afternoon, and 2-on-2 or 3-on-3 with the nets at the top of the circles. And what I'm learning from it, it makes the most difference of anything I've ever done in my life as far as skill and handling the puck, and like and I'm just saying for myself, because a guy came out that I hadn't played since last year, eh? And he said, "Have you been working on your stick handling?" And it's just from these little games. You just got the puck in your stick all the time. So you take that thing and you say, how do I do this in practice so that the players have small groups, are getting the puck all the time, they're not standing in line, and that kind of stuff. So, it's kind of a personal thing, but, I am playing this afternoon, and my best player from last year is going to come. She came into town from northern BC. She's going to come and play with us. So that'll be interesting.
Hell, what Tom just said, that's why I think play more games and the practices you have, make them all like that. It's easy. You don't need to know how to coach then. You let them play and they'll learn how to play and they'll get puck touches, and by trial and error, like he mentioned on passing, he looks at handling the puck and feel. He teaches it. He teaches the fundamentals so that you can do that. And that can be done very early at a very young age, but it isn't.
It was interesting to hear him say that he allowed 3 missed passes in the 4 warm-up drills. So he probably goes about 10 minutes with these quick, but 3 was a max that was allowable. So guys have to focus on taking passes.
Yeah.
Because that's probably the worst skill we have in Canada, is taking passes.
Well,
especially with the new sticks.
Yeah, they're pretty stiff, but they flex and you can shoot to score.
Well, yeah. Well, one of the other things I found interesting was, and just my final little note, is when he talked about the 6 skilled chemistry guys, and I always refer to the foot soldiers, right? And how in-game coaching, he would switch some of those around depending on his own coaching. And when I made the comment about that's part of being the secret of being a great coach, it just reminded me that, that process sometimes, when you start a game, you can keep the same group together at times, but, the Scotty Bowmans of the world, sometimes guys aren't on. And the use of the 6 forwards and then the other 6 forwards is what I would always do. It was, I called them my foot soldiers, or I called them my 6 guys, whatever you want to call it. But it was interesting him mentioning how he gained the trust of those kids so early, or so well, that they wouldn't, they would let him make those decisions without much, much problem, obviously. I mean, it was good to hear.
Listen, before we go, I'm going to pick your brains, everybody here. Hell, it had to do with your comment on 9 forwards, 4 defensemen, 5 defensemen, and let's play games that way, especially if your ice time's an hour or smaller. So that means less practices. I agree with that. But what are the habits that you would cheer, encourage, recognize, and want players to recognize and comment on and cheer? So when players come back from the ice in a game, you've vocally praised it in front of the players on the bench as a coach, and you're hoping that in time the players will pat that player on the back for his back check, whatever. So what are the habits that you could embed, teach, coach, reinforce in games? And that's all you do. Focus on the positives. What are they? I'm writing them down.
You want, who do you want, just to spout them out? Because one of my favorites is being first to the puck.
Okay, anything else?
Great effort.
Effort, anything else?
Find open ice.
So player gets open. Boy, did he know where to go. Did he get to the right spot? Like, I'm thinking of what to say, what to praise. Anything else?
Pace the play with and without the puck. You see the puck and pace the play. One of the biggest faults, especially coaching minor hockey, is line backhand pass kind of things and that. And they do that extra skating that, you make positive plays.
I also, one of my big ones is for the younger kids is help your buddy. Go over and you know what, support the puck. Be around the puck. Don't stand there and watch. Just, if they're first to the puck, you got to go up there and help them. So I call it, whether it's puck support or I always say help your buddy. Go help your buddies, because then it gets more team oriented into it.
I say shift length. If players have a proper shift length, that's high energy. So play at a fast pace, good shift, nice pace. And I write down back check, recognizing back check.
Wow.
Well, the other thing
other
too,
one
that I loved what sorry, Hal, go ahead.
That's right. Make a play.
Make a
Because a
play.
lot of minor players, they just give up the puck. They don't try to do stuff. And the reason is if it doesn't work, they get criticized. And if it's the right idea, but the execution isn't quite there, you got to go, hey, that was cool. Try it again. Go do that again. That kind of stuff. Make a play.
Yeah.
And try to make offensive passes when possible instead of just possession passes. You know what I mean? Like in the offensive zone. Like that old cycle back and forth, throwing the puck in the corner. What was that all about? Try to do something that's going to result in a scoring chance.
I loved his comments about the defenseman moving the puck and with 2 seconds instead of the 6 second D to D turnover stuff. That was that hit home with me. Playing fast I'm a big believer of that, heading north south too. So, but for young kids, the other thing too is join in. Great way to join in, like the fourth and fifth guy heading up the ice. Once you move the puck, don't stand there. Join in.
So I'm saying here we're coaching all these things. A coach has to recognize it. And I'm just thinking the average coach, not the coaches that are here like Tom and all of you, the detail of more offensive passes is pretty advanced. Good passes, smart passes, effective passes. I'm just thinking, you think of the average coach that you're mentoring who can't teach like you do and point out the details like you do. Because I'm going to put together a list for them to play small area games, and at games to communicate in a positive way by recognizing the good things that happen. End of story. That's all that I think advanced coaches can get to the details that we've brought up here. So give that some thought down the road. I may come back to it, but you're all got to put your mentor hats on, Tom, not your coaching hat. You're working with coaches, and we're trying to get volunteer coaches to be more positive, to achieve those things by praising them when they do happen. That's all. And I think that's something that might make the game better at the minor hockey level and make it a more fun experience for everybody. That's for sure. So listen, my schedule today, and At 3 o'clock, I'm going to watch Kerry's team for about a period or two. His son's playing the Koreans. The Canucks are playing the Koreans at Max Bell at 3, Tom.
I think it's actually at 4:30, Wally.
4:30. I thought it was 3.
Yeah, no, it's 4:30. So
Okay, I may watch a period, and then I'm going to head over to the Great Plains Arena to watch Jordan female teams. There's a number of teams trying out for the AAA midget team and the AA midget teams at the Fire Starter. So I've got to do some cooking preparation right after this, and I'm looking forward to editing this weekend. So
I
thanks
thought
very
you'd be coming at 3:30 to watch our small game.
I'm coming.
Where are you?
Boy,
we better get that on MTV so we can watch it on TV.
Are you at Crowchild?
Yeah,
Huh?
And it starts at what time?
3:30.
A little bit early with my schedule, but if it was at 3, I would. Then I can get over and see Kerry, and then I can get over and see the other one. It's
Well, that
great.
women's team is just starting on TV now too.
Who's
Canada
playing?
women. Canadian women's team. They're got the intro on the TV right now.
And who are they playing?
I'm not sure.
I think it's Finland, but anyway, Kerry, thanks very much for coming on. And
Oh, hey, Wally.
Yep.
Yeah,
Finland
that's right. We'll talk later.
okay, take care, everybody.
I know.
Bye bye. Give me a call when you want, Terry. Bye bye.
Okay, see you guys.
Okay,
I gotta get my hair cut now.
me too.